Good morning. My name is James Naughton, and I'm glad to have you here this morning with another 15 and You. And for more information for everybody, if you want to follow more of these offerings, to go to our listserv. And our listserv is at https://bit.ly/UAZ-LWC-email-list, where you can follow along with more information, and that will be provided later. Again, my name is James Naughton. I have a master's in rehabilitation counseling from the University of Arizona with a bachelor's in psychology. I've also worked in the field of addiction and mental health, primarily in an inpatient setting and hospitalization for the past 21 years. And I'm recently joined to the team at Life and Work Connections since last October. And my specialties since and now have included working with individuals who suffer from symptoms of undischarged traumatic stress, the ways in which people numb and avoid some of those stress-based symptoms, including addiction, whether it's a process addiction like an eating disorder or gambling or spending, or if it's a chemical addiction. I also work with people who have childhood relational trauma and adult trauma as well. And I've been trained in various forms of trauma therapy, including EMDR, post-induction therapy, and also somatic experiencing. And a lot of the things we're going to talk about today involve the body and connecting to the body as a way of restoring what we call the resiliency or the dignity of the body back to the present moment. And a lot of this is based on the work of Peter Levine, along with others who have long contributed to the area of body-centered approaches to treating stress and trauma, beginning since probably the mid-60s, early 70s to now. So I'm going to split screen here and begin with sort of this image I wanted to show to somehow get the idea of motion. When we're talking about hitting the accelerator, we're not talking about getting all revved up, because I think for most of us, we may already be there. We call that sympathetic activation or overactivation, when we're already kind of waking up anxious or preoccupied or worried or irritable or anxious or angry. And, we're already in fight or flight. And what we want to get back to is what's called social engagement, which is to deactivate or down-regulate into that state of being present so that we can connect to people we care about, which I know sounds challenging, particularly with physical distancing, but with those that we're with at home or connecting to remotely, the more we can practice helping our nervous system return to social engagement and being present, the more we can mitigate the impact of these present circumstances have on our emotions and our mental well-being, especially if you are a recovering individual from an addiction or mental health. This is really important to continue to engage that nervous system and help it remain present and resilient and restoring the dignity to the system. So we're going to go to the next slide here. And I'm going to just take a moment, a word on keeping your health bucket full. When I was in grad school, they talked about keeping our apple cart full as a practitioner and working in the helping fields. And many of us do help a lot of people here at the University of Arizona or our families. And, we can spend a lot of that energy and it goes out, but we don't take the time to restore and recover that. And it's really important that we do. So one thing we want to think about in terms of recovery and taking the time to restore ourselves is taking these bullet points to heart, that recovery, restoring yourself, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, is not negotiable. In other words, you can either make the time to rest and rejuvenate now, or make time to be sick and injured later. And I tell you, this is something I've discovered about myself many times when I've stopped. Like the moment I take a vacation, I get sick. It's like my body's like, okay, now that we're safe and relaxed, now we're going to catch up on all this stuff you've been avoiding. And we want to take the time to always rejuvenate and recover. And we want to practice keeping that bucket full. And to kind of give a sense of what we mean by that analogy, just looking at the picture, when we put into our bucket, sleep, those regular hours of sleep, eating healthy, which we can even check out on our website to learn more about eating healthy, recovery, physically, emotionally, mentally. You can check out all of our offerings on the website, but including those things to restore your body, because it's energy in, energy out. And the work we do, the stress that we have in our lives draws all of that energy out. And there is an effect that, when we don't restore or we don't take the time, there's a few things we should consider here. So accumulated stress, and other points to remember is that chronic stress exacts a great toll on our body and mind. It can dysregulate the physical processing in our system, our emotions, our mental functioning, and our peripheral nervous system, the part of our nervous system that regulates our heart rate, our digestion, our breathing, our sleep cycles, all of that, is at the center of the body's response to stress. So where we might begin to see stress starting to come out is in all these basic areas of functioning. And those same systems that protect us when we're in danger, that arousal that occurs when there's an actual threat, that's going to come up whether there's a threat or not. It's going to show up whenever there's some kind of demand to be met, whether it's some work demand or some other life demand. But if we are chronically not responding to what our body needs, that it's meeting these demands day after day, moving into that fight, flight, and then back down, but not being restored, we're building up accumulated stress. So I want you to consider that right now. And then the next step is, when we're taking care of our body in this way, this body-centered approach we're going to look at here, one thing I want you to remember is this idea of embody fullness. It's kind of a play on the word mindfulness. And it really means we're going to start practicing in our daily self-care, observing our inner and outer physical experiences and movement, and kind of maintain some basic ideas that less is more, slower is better, and one thing at a time. That's how our body processes new things. Slowly, doing less, and doing one thing at a time is really at the heart of how we can better connect to our body and restore some of that resiliency. So let's see here. And just to show you that there's a real benefit, here's the areas of the brain that are getting involved in the practice of these body-centered approaches. And bottom-up approaches are anything that has to do with that lower brain, but it interacts with higher functions as well. So when we practice this, these areas of the brain are being impacted directly. And what happens is when we practice these body-centered approaches, and all the work that Tanya is showing us, and all the work that Bob is showing us too, what we're showing is that we actually are changing the structures in the brain. We'll have a less of a reaction to triggers that we usually have to. We're not going to be as hyper vigilant to our environment and always looking for where the danger is. And our anger and emotions are not going to come out in these uncontrolled outbursts because our system is more regulated. We're going to feel safer. We're going to be able to look at past events as things that happened back there, not things that are happening now. And our ability to counter fear and hold it and not be overwhelmed by it, that window of tolerance will increase. So these are real things that can change if we practice this a little bit each day. So we've been doing a lot of sitting in the chair, but sometimes we need to do more. And this is kind of a word picture, really. Sometimes the body says, I need to move as part of getting out of this stuckness that sometimes we can get into, of this accumulated stress. And the body's kind of like, hey, I really want to go somewhere, but I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. So hitting the accelerator really is more about using movement or being curious about your body wanting to move, and this idea of returning to home. And what I mean by home is the body has a sense of, where am I safest? Where would I prefer to be? Than where I am right now. And that's a very real thing to your body, not just an idea, but it's a very real thing. So the other title to this is wondering if my body wants to do something. And sometimes we need to ask ourselves that question when we're beginning to feel overwhelmed. Does my body want to do something with this? and to approach being really with ourselves and our body here. We want to exercise some intentionality, which means I'm going to go into this with the intention of wanting to be present and feeling capable to learn and to listen about my body. We also want to practice being aware of sensations and movement and location. Can I notice the feeling of my chest rising and falling, or my heartbeat? Or can I sense things outside of my body, like is my feet on cement or grass or on carpet, or that feeling that when we throw a ball, we don't have to see our arm throwing it. Our body knows where our arm and our hand is. So beginning to be aware that we can be aware of a lot of things and connect to that right now. And also being compassionate and curious. So when we're holding our body and connecting to it and bringing our attention to it and observing a physical experience, that's practicing being compassionate with our body, that whatever comes up, and to be curious, which means, hey, I'm not going to see an outcome or force the body to do something. I'm just going to notice what's happening and I wonder what's going to happen next with this sensation. So I'm going to help you through this exercise right now to help you with this. And so I'm going to ask you just to get comfortable with your chairs, okay? And I'm going to take you through this posture exercise with you now. And so I just want you to be with your body and notice its position and posture right now. And to ask yourself the question, if my body could tell me how it feels, sad, angry, depressed, worried, tired, what posture would it want to assume right now to be safe right now? So as you imagine that, seeing that, how does my body feel if it could tell me? And then what posture would it hold to tell me that? What would sad in my posture look like, or depressed or angry right now? And I want you to imagine it. And maybe sometimes it resembles a certain stance, like some people call it going turtle, when our shoulders want to come up and we want to kind of contract, or when we expand, it's kind of going starfish. But kind of imagine, what would my body want to do with this feeling? And now if you can move into that posture right now and hold it. So right now, maybe our posture is this. And so I want you to just move into whatever posture you feel like your body wants to hold right now, and just be okay with it and notice it. Okay, and but to whatever degree that you feel comfortable. And I want you to notice as you're holding this position, I just want you to be aware of where your hands and your arms and your head and neck are right now. Just being aware of it, not trying to change it, and noticing the posture. And being aware of sensations like, do I feel heavier here or lighter? Is it warmer or cooler? Do things feel brighter or darker? Is there an internal sense of things feeling softer or rough? Is there a constricted feeling inside, or does it become more spacious? Does this feel rigid or loose in this position? So just being curious right now and just holding that with curiosity, not judging it. Like you're holding that posture and you're respecting the body's desire to want to hold that. And now I want you to wonder, what is the opposite of that posture? What would it look like to move out of that? And so what I want you to do is stay in that original posture that you were in just now. And I want you to imagine what maybe the opposite of that would be. And now I just want you to slowly, if you wish, to just slowly, almost like a budding flower in slow motion, I want you to move from that posture that you were in, whatever that your body was feeling, and I want you to move out of that slowly into the opposite posture. Really slowly, like incrementally slow, like that slow flower budding and blossoming. And you're moving out of that, maybe contraction, or if it's expansion, you're moving into contraction, but you're just letting your body want to do what it wants to do until it gets into that space, and then just hold that. And then notice again those sensations. How does this feel? Does it feel lighter? Does it feel open? Does it feel relaxed, spacious? Okay. And now because of the time, I just want to move from this and go to kind of tapping your chest right now, which is kind of some of that using the break and just making sure we're in our body because we just did some work connecting to our body. Now, as we're tapping here, what I'm going to say is that movement of going from one posture to another. What I would do is I would do that 2 or 3 times of going back to the original posture slowly, and then back into the opposite, back into the original, and back into the opposite. So I'm kind of going back and forth slowly 2 or 3 times, and then finishing that with a tap on your chest or orienting to pleasure in your environment to help ground and recenter. And what we're doing is we're helping the body gradually move out of that state, and it's doing something with that emotion, whether it's that anger or frustration or hurt. It's giving our body a purposeful movement to do with that emotion. If you're curious about more information, I have some references here on the website or that you can look at later on if you want to learn more about this kind of movement into posture, to kind of work with your body's emotions and physical energy to move it into different states or into a state of being present. And again, I'm just going to reference the Life and Work Connections website. You can go there, click on the Life and Work Connections Support Services tab for more information. So I want to thank you for being here this morning to practice this activity here, maybe 2 or 3 times a day, really gently, slowly, and compassionately. Remember that less is more. We're not trying to force our body into something that it doesn't want. We're just gently moving it in and out of these states, and the body will support you. I guarantee it. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day and take care.